Hi, welcome everybody. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin, on my YouTube channel here, where we put out a lot of sports betting videos, and I bring on some of the best handicappers in the country. And today is no exception. Every Monday, I bring on Mr. Doug Upstone so we could talk a little bit of an early look at the college football card on Saturday. And we'll be giving you some free picks on Saturday, and also voicing some opinions on what we saw this past weekend in college football. Doug, without further ado, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent as always, Ross. Always wonderful on Mondays, this time of day, to talk some college football. The results weren't quite what I was looking for the free play, but looking to turn that around big time this week. And so get some action going here. But yeah, it was, but I will throw out there, it was a little bit, I should say on the positive side. We talked about last week, the team doing well against the spread. And now I would have never taken it, but lo and behold, Bowling Green, they're 4-0 against the spread, and they beat Minnesota as a 31.5-point favorite on the road. Wow, that was amazing from that one. But that's one game with that. But Ross, I'm curious to hear, you watched the Arkansas Texas A&M game. I have some thoughts, but go ahead. Why don't you start it off as to what some of you
and I'm going to throw it back at you because I didn't watch the game in length because I had no interest. But what I would say is Arkansas that good? I'm sure they are. I'm sure that the pollsters and the experts had them underrated going into the season based on how they look thus far. But I'm not so sure Texas A&M is as good a team as they were ranked going into that game. You know, Doug, you look at their game at Colorado a couple of weeks back, and they struggled to beat Colorado in that game 10-7. And that's a Colorado team that can't score on anybody right now. So anyway, your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, touch on Texas A&M. Losing their starting quarterback situation wasn't great, and there was an assumption that Jimbo Fisher, I think, would just solve the problem because he's a very good quarterback coach. Well, then they lost their starter, and now they're working with backups, and it's just not working. I mean, he's competent, but he's not great, and so that's their problem. Conversely, though, Arkansas, Ross, is so physical. I mean, at the line of scrimmage, it's kind of like they blended the best parts of Brett Bielema when he was there in terms of being physical and able to run the ball. But now they have a quarterback that can zing it down the field, and that has just changed everything for them. And then defensively, I mean, they really get after you. And again, they have SEC speed and size now across the board. And this Sam Pittman, who basically was just a career lifer assistant, has taken over, man, and he's got this deal going. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated or anything like that, or win even the SEC West. But I tell you what, I'm looking forward to their game against Alabama, among others. Okay, as we move along this season, Ross.
They did crack the top 10, I believe, right?
I did not look at that, but that would not be a surprise. They should be.
The most recent poll, I think they're number 8 now, believe it or not. And this was a team that was unranked and unheralded before the season started. So we'll see if that how they fare, I should say, on Saturday, Doug. They have a big game at Georgia. And that's a line that jumped out at me without getting into further detail. When I saw Georgia as an 18-point favorite, you got the number 2 team in the country versus the number 8 team in the country. And if Georgia was going to Arkansas, they'd still be a double-digit favorite. So that line jumped out at me a bit. It's never that easy, folks. And I mentioned that last week when I gave you my free pick on the Nebraska game. Why Nebraska was only a 5-point underdog at nationally ranked Michigan State, who was undefeated. And I caught all kinds of flack in the comments section of our video. And it's never that easy, folks. I mean, yeah, you know what? Michigan State won. Okay. The line came down to 4. They won by 3. All right. But the point of the matter is, that looked like a sure lock to take the favorite in that game, Michigan State, after their performance at Miami the week before. They were undefeated. They just cracked the top 25, and this is a Nebraska team that came in 1-2 and finds ways to beat themselves, which they did again on Saturday, but they got inside the number. Adrian Martinez. I'm thinking to myself, I feel sorry for this Scott Frost over at Nebraska because he inherited this quarterback who had a tremendous freshman year, and they just seem to not have moved on from him, despite the fact he seems to regress every year since his freshman season. He threw a critical interception in overtime, and then they gave up a punt return. Michigan State had 0 first downs in the second half, Doug. 0, okay? And Nebraska's up 7. They punt the ball back to Michigan State, who, again, hasn't had any offense in the entire second half. And lo and behold, what do? They allow a 61-yard punt return for a touchdown. Game gets tied, you lose in overtime. So some teams just don't know how to win, but they did cover the spread. Anyway, Doug, you have a free pick for us on Saturday in college football.
I certainly do, and I live out west, and I'm going to stay in Pac-12 country on this one. Talking about Washington and Oregon State. Now, Oregon State is 3-1, and they just tore up USC so bad that if you saw there, and there was pictures of this, by the way, on Twitter and thereabouts, at the end of the third quarter, there was less people in the stands at the LA Coliseum than saw the movie The Infinite. And if you have not heard of The Infinite, okay, there's a good reason why you haven't heard of it. Okay. So the Beavers are coached by a former quarterback of theirs, Jonathan Smith. And their offense is now ranked number 24 in the country in yards gain, and they're averaging 38.5 yards per contest. We saw Washington, Ross, when they played Michigan. That was ugly. Okay, and that was a bad game. They have gotten some personnel back, especially at the wide receiver position, that has helped them win their last 2 games. But I point to last week when they played California, and I'm talking a real average California team at home. They were outgained by 131 yards. Was Washington, I should state. They're 131 yards, and the only reason that they won in overtime is because they had a +2 margin in turnovers. Now, Oregon State has forced at least 1 turnover in each of their 4 contests, and Washington has committed at least 1 turnover in each of their 4 games. Oregon State comes into this one 20-8 against the spread after allowing 125 yards rushing in 3 straight games, and they're 25-12 in Corvallis after outgaining their last foe by 125 yards or more. I'm going to take these eager Beavers, Ross, to get the job done at home as -2-point favorites.
Yep, I like it, buddy. I like it. I mean, look at Washington this season, really struggling offensively. I mean, I go back to their season opener. They played a real good FCS team that's ranked in the top 10 in the FCS poll, most recent poll in Montana. Granted, but they lost the game as a double-digit favorite, a sizable double-digit favorite at that. And they lost 10-7. Then they go to Michigan the following week, and they hardly put up any offense in that game. And like you said, against an average California team, they were outgained by what, 120-something yards, you said, Doug?
131, yep.
Yeah, so clearly momentum is on the side of Oregon State. And, I believe Oregon State opened on Sunday night as an underdog in this contest, and it was quickly turned, probably with sharp money, for Oregon State to a favorite. Now, why I say probably short money, I just can't see the general public who doesn't have a fond memory going to the window early and laying down tons of money on Oregon State over a team that was ranked number 25 in the country. Ranked in the top 25 in the country in the preseason poll. So that's where I get that from. Anyway, folks, do us a favor here. I mentioned all the great guests, including Doug Upstone, that I have every week. I would, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I would kindly ask you take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing for world-class sports betting advice from not only myself and Doug, but the likes of Craig Trapp from picksandparleys.com and Chip Chirimbus, who's been around forever and a day and very well-respected handicapper over the years. So again, hit the subscription button there. And also while you're there, go into your settings and hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified immediately upon me releasing any of these videos on our YouTube channel here. Anyway, let's get to my free pick, Doug. Oklahoma, who burned me last week. And I got to be careful when I take a team that I lost with the week before to make sure that my emotions aren't involved. And I really did. I looked in the mirror and I came to the conclusion that even if Oklahoma would have covered for me last week, I probably would have liked Kansas State even more this week. So I already gave away my pick, but let me tell you why. Kansas State, by the way, a 10.5-point home underdog. Now, Oklahoma's 4-0. They're ranked number 6 in the country. However, they've played 3 FBS opponents, the other one being an FCS opponent, which they crushed in West Carolina. But against your 3 FBS opponents, they won by 5 against Tulane, all at home. Won by 5 against Tulane, by 7 against Nebraska, and last week squeaked out a 3-point win against West Virginia. Now, having said that, they were a double-digit favorite in all 3 of those games. On top of that, if you look at how much they failed to cover by, it's been by a combined 57 points in those 3 games. That's 18.5 points per game. So it looks to me like Oklahoma has been very much overvalued to start the year. They don't look like the same offensive team. The fan base is calling for the head of Spencer Rattler, and they want to see the young freshman come in, highly touted true freshman who has not played a game in college football yet. So a little bit, even though they're 4-0 and they're ranked in the top 6, there's a very high standard there, and for good reason. Now they're going to be facing a Kansas State team coming off their first loss of the year. The Wildcats went to Oklahoma State, a team that Doug mentioned earlier, who a lot of people don't realize is still undefeated at this point, and they lost that game 31-20, which I believe dropped them out of the top 25. I have to look and double check on that. But regardless, look, here's the thing with Kansas State. Number one, they got Oklahoma's number. And Ross, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. The last 2 years they played Oklahoma, they knocked them off as a 28-point and a 23-point underdog. They won both games straight up. You don't think that's in Oklahoma's head? You don't think that gives the kids from Kansas State confidence, and especially coming off a loss where they're playing at home as a double-digit underdog? Okay, I think so. And also keep in mind, Kansas State, since 9/29 of 2018, has been a home underdog, of plus 1.5 or greater 9 times. 9 times within the last 3 years. And they covered 8 of those games, 8-1 against the spread. And they also won 6 of the 9 straight up. So guess what I'm going to do, Doug? I'm going to take Kansas State plus 10.5 at home against Oklahoma. So there you have it, folks. Our 2 free picks for Saturday. And that would be Saturday. Oh, it's October already. It's October 2nd on Saturday. Whatever.
Second. You're right. The 2nd. Yep.
This coming Saturday, whatever date that is in early October. Those are our 2 picks. Again, Doug, tell the people who you like again and what you got on tap this week at Doc's.
Ross, I like the Oregon State Beavers to get the job done this Saturday. I think it's a 9:00 Eastern time start. And so at Doc's, I did miss my first big play of the season. Okay, so that wasn't good. So looking to rebound, get back on track with that. Still moving along nicely in college football and in the NFL. Like yourself, Ross, I had a 3-1 week and now 9-1 to start the NFL
Wow.
season. So that has been outstanding. And since September the 8th, 31-15 on all picks across the board. So that has been very good as well. So yes, so visit me at Doug Upstone at Doc Sports, okay, and I'll take care of you, okay, get you some more winners. Ross, what about you?
I got to ask you a question. Thank you for asking, but I have to ask you a question before I answer yours. Is 9-1 I can't explain it streak?
It is not, okay. This past week, I had an epiphany. I guess maybe that's what it was. And so with that, it's like I realized that, there is luck and skill, okay, in acquiring a record of that sort rather. And so yes, Ross, I confidently come before you and give you my record of 9-1, and it's not divine intervention. Like I said, it's a combination of skill and luck. So I'm looking to keep that going this coming weekend.
I'm joking because Doug, I'm telling the viewers, because Doug has a habit of when he's on a torrid stretch to say, I'm 23-5, the last 28, and I just can't explain it. Well, let me explain what I'm doing here. Okay. College football was terrible on Saturday, which means I'm going to bounce back this week with a vengeance. I always do. The NFL, I was pretty good, 3-1, just like Doug. As a matter of fact, I had a 10-star top play winner. It was my NFL game of the month on the Miami Dolphins. Hey, a winner is a winner is a winner. They were +4. They lose by 3. I covered a spread. So Minnesota Vikings +2 outright over Seattle. And I also had the New Orleans Saints +3, who won 28-13 over New England. And my only loser was last night at San Francisco against Green Bay. But 3-1, we'll take it. And I'll have my NFL game of the week again on Sunday, my Saturday college football game of the week. And you can find me at rbwins.com. rbwins.com. You can find Doug over at docsports.com. Great site, great handicappers, including my partner here, Mr. Doug Upstone. Doug, any final thoughts before we leave?
Yes, I like your pick with Kansas State. I think you got the right information there, which is the key, of course. And so Oklahoma, the biggest thing with Oklahoma, Ross, offensive line and defensive line, not as strong this year. That's the key. It's not Rattler, or it's not just Rattler himself. It's the other aspects of the game. That's what to watch for against K-State.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And I agree wholeheartedly. So until the next time, which will be Thursday with our NFL show with Doug Upstone, I'll be back on Wednesday with Chip Chirimbus for both my college football and NFL portions of the Winner's Circle sports betting podcast. But Thursday back with Doug on the NFL. So until then, folks, good luck. God bless and take care.